See, we've been embracing the need to survive. That I've got to make this body survive. I've got to make myself survive, because that's the trick inside me that says you're gonna die and death is bad, and and so just try to block out the feelings of it and go eat a cookie and go be unkind to someone and steal and lie and just go be right. Go through your life being right. That way you'll survive. But that's not it. It's that way I will survive, says the ego. That way I will survive. And you see, I'm not here to hate the ego. There are a lot of movements and books and things that say hate the ego. No, don't hate the ego. Hating the ego won't do any good, except that will nourish. That will nourish that illusionary part of you that says there is something other than God, that there is something other than good, that there is something other than magnificence. There is nothing other than magnificence in truth. In reality, there is nothing other than magnificence. But there are a lot of illusions, a lot of things I created to make it look like there's something other than magnificence. And I have treated my body, because today our chapter in the Search for God book is about the destiny of the body. And the destiny of the soul, as our teachers told us, is in God's hands. But the destiny of the body is in my hands. The destiny of the body completely is in my hands. And so I have a choice as to what to think about the body, what to feed the body, what to nourish the body, how to treat the body. But if I'm treating the body as my enemy, if I'm treating the body as my master and I am its slave, I am its weakened being that is under attack. That's the best way to put it, as if my body is always under attack. And the funny part is, who's it under attack by? Me. I'm the one attacking my body. Others aren't attacking my body. I'm the one. I look in the mirror and say, ugh. 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 Oh, this is wrong and that's wrong. And I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm bald. Oh, I wish I had curly hair, I wish I had straight hair, I wish I had, my lips, my eyes, I wish I looked like that one, and I wish I looked like that one. I wish I didn't look like this one. So there's the mental attack. And then I go to the kitchen. Or I get on the phone and talk about what's wrong. And when Scott sang that lyric there, I used to want you. When he screamed at the ego, I used to want you. And that's what we have to take responsibility for, accountability for, is that we want the ego. We invite it in. We invite it into our consciousness to tell us about illusions, to tell us that there is something wrong. How many of you go to the mirror in the morning and say, hi, God, it's what I still do. There we go. You don't have to be ashamed. Do not be ashamed that you love God, for Pete's sake. Holy smokes, you're in church. Of all places you can admit you have a relationship with God, please let it be at Unity Center. You didn't walk up these steps to be ashamed of your love of God or your embracing of a spiritual life. I learned years ago, and I don't know if anybody taught me this or I made it up, but I started going to the mirror in the morning and I'd say, hi, God. And I noticed that I had to smile when I did that. And I noticed I wasn't criticizing. I didn't care about my hairline. I didn't care about any of it. And suddenly, I started to notice that I got noticed more in the street, actually. When I began embracing spirit, I'd walk down 9th Avenue where I lived, and I got noticed, and I thought, this cannot be lust. I'm not so egotistical that it was lust, that people were, wow, is he hot? I mean, I don't know, I mean, Somebody may have confused that, but what I realized is I was turning on the light every morning. When I looked in the mirror, I turned on the light. And so I didn't have a lot of criticism for myself. And that's what was being noticed as I walked down the street. And that was sufficient. It was lovely to think, my light is being seen. I took it out from under the bushel. And I aligned it with God. And I began to love my body more. And I began to be under less attack. Now I've gone in and out with this over the years. But this week I'm in great shape. This week, and it's not about, and again, it's not about hating things. It's not about hating candy bars. I remember when Jerry was on my radio show a couple of years ago now, and she came on because Jerry's a nutritionist. And I said, here's the deal. I don't want to eat broccoli because I'm afraid of a Snickers bar. Tell me about the virtues of broccoli. Tell me about the virtues of these wonderful vegetables and this wonderful stuff. Don't make me afraid over here, because if I'm afraid over here, that's where I'm going. I'm going to what I'm more afraid of. At first, until I said, no, I'm going to what I love. I'm going to drag it over, but I'm going over to here, to what's loving and kind and generous and peaceful. But you see, I have to want it. Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. He went in to get in touch with what he knew he was. He was spirit. He was spirit, and he knew he was spirit first and a body second. But you see, the body, and we're going to talk next week, is the destiny of the soul, and we're going to talk about the soul next week. But the body is the house for the soul. And so we can treat our body as a house of love, right here, right now, exactly as it is, rather than trying to tell ourselves a story of what it isn't. Imagine that you never again had to compare your body with someone else's. That you never again had to compare your house of love with someone else's. But you were busy on redecorating your house of love. You were focused on your house of love being a house that is open, and neighbors can come in. Neighbors can come in and, have a cup of tea and enjoy your house of love. I want to read this to you. It is Matthew 4 from the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. It's short. And it says, with the Spirit you shall examine your thoughts. It is your true spirit that will guide you to choose truly. Once the choice is made, the time of service will begin. It is in this time that a gathering will begin. You will gather around you that which is needed to serve, and the gathering shall be effortless and without thought. Once the mind has been cleansed, the following will be effortless. First, focus on the cleansing, and in peace you shall know that you are led truly. Well, how about that? You see, there's no devil, there's no adversary. The adversary is made up. And it is my excuse to go eat more candy bars. It is my excuse to hang out in the kitchen a lot more often with my carbohydrates. It is my, my numbing agents. It's a better way to put it, my numbing. Let me go find a numbing agent. And that could be an object of lust. That could be an object of food. That could be so many things. Some of us get addicted to the gym. Some of us get addicted to 12-step meetings. Some of us get addicted to different things in order to avoid the divine being, the magnificent being that we are. In order to start saying, hi God, and believe it. I know people who feel it is disrespectful to look in the mirror and say, hi God, to associate themselves as a God being. I have students who say, I can't do that. I just can't. I can't look in the mirror and say, hi God. Because God is still a big old man to them. And they want God to be a big old man so that life is always happening to them instead of from them. Imagine that your life is happening from you, and all that has to shift is you. All that has to shift is a single thought at a single time. That's all. It's that simple. One thought at one time. And if you slip up, you make way for a new thought. You give way for another thought. Craig Ferguson, who's on late night TV, in his book, he says, I've taught my son that we just keep failing until we succeed. It's no big deal to fail. You see, your soul is in the hands of God. So we're not going to lose. But let's treat our body as if life is eternal. And when I say treat our body, it means begin to think of your body as your friend. As God is for me, nothing is against me. Do we hear that? As God is for me, nothing is against me. Therefore, the ego's not against me. My body's not against me. And many of you have heard my story, and in a book that I hope is coming out one of these days, I tell a story about giving up cigarettes. I gave up cigarettes by making friends with cigarettes. I thanked cigarettes on my knees for several months as I told them I was going to be letting them go. Imagine doing that with certain thoughts, certain egomaniacal thoughts. Imagine telling the part of you that says, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. That thank you for protecting me, taking care of me when I was having limited thinking. But now, it's no big deal even if I'm wrong. So I'm going to be letting you go. Thank you. And you see, then you can begin to look at every aspect. I mean every, not selective, but every aspect, and you'll see that it has always been your friend, and therefore it has always been good. Because if you can stand here now, today, and say, I am good. Unconditionally, I am good. I am good because God is good. And it has nothing to do with how I've behaved. But it took all that stuff to make me the good that I am right now. Scott's going to sing a song in a few minutes here and it is the conclusion of Wicked, the show Wicked. But it's the conclusion that all of that brought about who is that man walking across the all of that, what we call wicked, what we call evil, what we call the adversary, what we call the devil, what we call all of it. Once we say get out and stay out, but now we have to make friends. We have to come to peace with it, because otherwise we're just going to be over here hating an old friend. We don't want to hate the old friend, but we don't want to use the old friend for the only purposes it can give anymore. And so now the conclusion is that because you were here in my life and I used you this way, I am this good. And this good is really good. But you have to decide. 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 And you have to decide. You have to decide. And you have to decide. And you. You have to decide. And 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 you have to decide. You have to decide. You have to decide. Fast. I have to decide. Nobody's going to make this decision for me. Not one of us can make it for another. I have to say, what do I want today? Do I want the darkness still? Do I want the illusion? Do I want the pain? Do I want the confusion? Do I want the sickness? Do I want the misery? Do I want the self-loathing? Do I want to know if there's something else? Do I want to know that there's something within all of that that is for good? That is for good, and it's living in my body. It's living in the cells of my body. It's living in the history of my body. And right now, right now. My body is good because I am good. My home is good because I am good. My work is good because I am good. My relationships are good because I am good. My past is good because I am good. Let's go ahead and decide and see what happens. Thank you so much.